Perfectly excellent.
All right, aloha, party people. Welcome to another action-packed episode of Perfectly Excellent. I'm Tim, like the thing under my video says, and today Alan and I are joined by Mr. Dad. How's everybody doing today?
Doing well. Direct from Bikini Bottom. You know, I would expect nothing less.
As always.
As always. That's awesome. Yeah, doing well. I've been looking forward to this one. This conversation. I won't get into it yet, but I'm excited to chat with you gentlemen this evening.
Yes, there's a very specific reason that we're joined here by Mr. Dad. But first.
Oh no.
First.
Perfectly excellent.
What did you do, Alan?
You're getting your money's worth out of that. And actually, that I don't know, is this the final time we see it? That bumper?
A decision's been made. We might have to tweak it. We might be able to come back to it at some point, but there is no more decision to make.
Yes, we are. The campaign for the Dragon, Mythic Legions Dragon, closed on Sunday. It didn't close at 11 p.m. as they said it would. I think it closed at like 11:16. So I was still eyeing it. I kept hitting refresh to see if they were going to extend it or take it down, but then they did. Somebody eventually pulled the plug on it as they intended. And to my surprise, they almost sold 5,000 of these things. I was blown away by that. I did not see that coming. I don't know what you guys thought, where they would top out at.
Does that count as a herd of dragon? That many?
It's a gaggle, that's for sure. I don't know if it's a herd. But Mr. Dad, what were you thinking? Where would the send
So when we had the episode and talked about this previously, I felt that their method of charging folks as soon as they pledged hurt the total numbers. I am not surprised that they got to 5,000-ish. They probably would have crossed that if people weren't locked in they probably would have crossed that earlier if the people weren't locked in.
100%, right? Yeah.
I mean, I kind of understand both ways. They're a smaller outfit, right? So they did kind of have to lock in. They should have maybe did an NRD, right? But I think ultimately 5,000, that's really good for them. I'm not super shocked that once it got over 4,000, I was not shocked to see the kind of,
momentum pick up.
Break. A lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm going to get everything I'm in. Right. So
here's the thing. You're burying the lead here.
I am on purpose, but I want to just talk because I want to build up here. So my Instagram DMs were like a flurry of all the people that were on the fence that had said no. And then one by one, the dominoes were falling. Probably in those last few hours, everybody was like, oh, I just did it. I went for it. Fine. I went in and, I every day, like I told you guys, I was back and forth. Do I do it? Do I not do it? And again, we had some real talk, Mr. Dad, you and I, and you gave some great advice, which I'm going to regret not following because
You followed my advice?
What's that? I more followed your advice. You were an enabler. Mr. Dad was the sad. It was like the two of you on my shoulders. I'm not going to say who was the devil, but I did eventually. I hit the buy button I had the wife acceptance factor. My 7-year-old gave me 2 reasons to buy the dragon. Finally, she said, look, buy it because I love you. And number 1 and 2, because I'm tired of hearing about it. So yeah, I went in. I did not go all in. I only got the fire breath and the base dragon. I just couldn't do the wings, though. I will tell you, between 11 p.m. and 11:16 p.m. before they shut it down, the FOMO was there for those wings, and I was like, oh, do I just grab them? And then they eventually pulled the plug. But yeah, I'm super excited. I will tell you that after clicking the buy button, like I did feel like elated that I am psyched when this thing will ship in 2028, 2029, and I hope I still have a house for it and that I could take pictures of it, because I started making notes of all the shots I want to take. So yeah, I'm in.
And how many figures do you end up getting with that? So you get the base dragon. This is the Mythic Legions Beyithirr. You get the base dragon, you get the extra head with the fire effect, and then how many other figures in total
There was like Sir Bennigan's or whatever his name is, which is the fully decked out knight. There was the skeleton, the ashen skeleton. There was another knight, Sir not appearing in this film. I don't remember what his name was. So was it just the 3 that came with the base dragon? I think it was just
the gold guy, Goldenrod, Sir Goldenrod.
Yeah. And then there was the flame knight that comes with the fiery breath.
So you got 4 figures.
Yep. So those will not be staying. Those will definitely find other homes, just because I really don't see myself shooting those or using those. Again, when I look at the dragon, I think Legend of Zelda. I think some of the Misho, or I'm saying that right. The Ronin style Star Wars figures would be really cool to shoot with the dragon and things like that. So yes, those will be finding new homes to help also offset the cost of said dragon.
I bought 0 dragons this week.
Okay. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't ask you. Where did you land on the dragon?
No dragons for me. Was never deciding. That was decided a long time ago.
Okay. How about you, Mr. Dad?
No dragons for me. I once I decided against it, I was done. I did have Sunday. I did have the kind of maybe I was out. So I mean, like I said, awesome piece, just not realistic for me to have in my house. So I'm gonna
or anyone likes to have in their house.
Well, I'm gonna save that space for, like I said, other G.I. Joe HasLabs. So
okay. So you're being smarter with your money. I'm gonna see if it's gonna fit here. So I gotta find new homes for this stuff. Yes, on the tip right here on my hand. No, but at the Lego Disney Castle, the Lego Stranger Things set. I don't know if you see that guy. That's a little a Lego Claptrap, and then like Boba Fett and all this stuff. May have to find a new home in, again, 2028, 2029. I would like to, you're gonna have to update the bumper, Tim, onto like, where is the dragon? Because I think it's gonna be a long, long time before that shows up.
Mr. Dad, do you collect the Mythic Legions figures in general?
Here and there. It depends on the wave. As like the most recent one that we kind of joked about that took 2 years, the skeleton one, the Necronomicus or whatever it's called. I got a bunch from that wave. I didn't get everything. When we go to Legions Con this year, I'm probably going to look to pick up more stuff.
Definitely.
Cosmic Legions, I get like 1 or 2 figures per wave. It just really depends. So,
so it was a more difficult decision for you to say no to the dragon than for me, for example, as I have 0 of any of those figures.
Yeah. And again, I don't have a lot of Mythic Legions or Cosmic Legions. And the ones that I get, if you look at my photo stream, they're just fighting Link, because there's for every Legend of Zelda enemy, there's kind of like a Mythic Legion stand-in. And not only that, I mean, there are some fun knights and lots of other figures like that. I would say I'm not super into fantasy figures, but I'm taking pictures of the Legend of Zelda, so I guess I should just shut my mouth.
Well, all right. Well, I'm proud of you. I think you made the right call. If I was
you guys are like on my shoulders right now as I look at the video feed. This is perfect. We should have done like a live stream Sunday night with both of you just like, buy it, don't buy it. So
I think you made the right decision. You gotta take those small pieces of joy where you can get them.
This was not a small piece of joy, though. However, this was a muy largo piece of joy, but I will still take it.
Very good, very good. Yeah. Well, I think that'll do us for the Dragon decision. Like I said, maybe we'll update that bumper, and where in the world is Dragon San Diego? Maybe that's coming up.
Yeah, I think by mid next year we'll probably have to start asking the questions. And then every time, I feel like it should be a drinking game. Like anytime there's a delay, like we have a production delay, everyone's like, yay, take another drink. But
well, all right. So do you want to move on to the main topic of the evening?
Let's do it. I'm excited to talk about more things to buy.
All right, let's hit this thing.
Perfectly excellent.
All right, so I will turn it over to you, Alan, because you're the one who specifically wanted to get Mr. Dad in here for this.
Yeah, so, and I'll explain why. I know you and I could talk video games, but Mr. Dad and I met when we were like young lads searching for cheap video games, like on the early days of the internet. It has to be decades, right, by now that we've been internet buddies. Yeah, and
I think
again,
it's gotta
like
be close. It's got to be close to 20 years.
yeah, and we met primarily about video games. Somehow along the way, like our paths crossed, and it's just been intertwined through all the random nonsense we've gotten into over the years. So again, and I think we're both kind of in the similar circumstances with our kids, and our kids are playing games, and you and I have been talking a lot about the Switch and all different systems. So yeah, I really wanted to have this conversation with you as well, Tim. Don't want to make you feel left out, as to see going into the Switch, going into the big announcement from, when was it, last week? How are you feeling? We both spent whatever 8 years now on the Switch One. It's, for me, it's my go-to console. Like, it's the one console I play the most on these days. And I just love the form factor of it. I love that it's so easy to pick up and play. It's extremely portable. I know it's underpowered, but I have other systems to manage that. So again, and both of you guys, I'd be curious, going into this announcement from last week, like, what were your feelings towards the Switch 2 or the Switch successor?
Well, I mean, as you said, Alan, right? Long history of video game discussion between us, and that's extended onto our kids and how we deal with our kids with video games and stuff. And I mean, original Switch got a ton of playtime in my household.
Mm-hmm.
Every kid has a Switch Lite. We have multiple Switches because, like, there's a TV, you need a Switch connected to, right? So, I mean, yes, this generation, the last 8 years, has gotten the most play, especially pandemic related. I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, Animal Crossing coming out, and the kids had to have it, and it took a couple of weeks for us to get a second Switch Lite, right? So that everybody had a Switch. So very very amped about getting the Switch successor, right? My daughter's fallen off on it a little bit, but I mean, definitely high interest from the 5th grade set, right? So
cool. Yeah. So let me ask you a question about, were you there on day one for the Switch?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. I was there on day 2. I was not there on day 1. I tried to ride the Wii U out for a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but whenever Breath of the Wild came out, and it just wasn't working the way I wanted, like, the Switch to work, that I could play on the TV and just pick it up and go into another room. That's when I finally caved and jumped into the Switch. And Tim, how about you? I know you have a Switch. Do you know where it is?
I think I got the OLED one, like,
Yes,
pretty much
you do
right
have the
when
OLED. Yep.
like, that's basically when I jumped on. I've always kind of been mostly a Nintendo guy, like, going back to being a kid. We had the NES, Super Nintendo, GameCube, all that stuff. I did take a slight detour to an Xbox 360, and then that was pretty much the last system I bought for a long time. I just sort of fell out of playing. A lot of the more modern games, to be honest with you, they're a little challenging for me. I'm not into, like, those
in your advanced age. Yeah.
Definitely. Big epic quest games. They're just a little too much for me. But I did end up getting the Switch because it just has a lot of games that I like. And when they started bringing on, like, like your Advance Wars type games, your Portal type games, that's a little bit more in my wheelhouse. Mm-hmm. So I don't play nearly as much, I think, as either of you. I'm very much a casual gamer, but I've always been a big Nintendo guy as far as my gaming goes. And then as far as, like, what I thought when the Switch 2 was coming out, I was like, I'll probably get one of those eventually, but I'm really curious to see how they're going to launch it, because I remember when they launched the first one, like, you couldn't get them anywhere. Yeah. Like, that was a big concern at the time, which again turned it into one of those things where I was going, do I want one? Do I need one of those? You can't find them anywhere. If I find one, should I get one? That thing in your brain starts going. So I was curious to see how this would play out. Yeah.
And I'm curious about that as well. But before we get into that, I want to talk. So what were you hoping to see, both of you guys, when it came to an eventual Switch successor? Was it just more, better, faster? Were there specific features that were must-haves, or it just didn't matter as long as it said Nintendo on it?
I was actually more curious about what games were going to come out. I'm not a big hardware guy because I don't play, like, those big crazy games. So that didn't really matter as much. I was just curious to see what they were going to come out with as far as games went. That was what I was looking for.
Okay. How about you, Mr. Dad?
I mean, I think Nintendo, right? It's the Nintendo software. I don't think anybody was realistically expecting a PS5 or Xbox Series X level machine. I was expecting something iterative, fix and fix things that were kind of not great on the Switch, right?
Like the battery life. I know that was a
Battery
pet
life,
peeve of yours. Yeah.
cooling, right?
Mhm.
It, I think they did enough improvements, right? But I was expecting kind of like, next year's iPhone, right? The camera's a little better, storage is a little more, it runs a little longer. You know what I'm saying? And I was expecting something iterative, and I think that's what we got.
Yeah.
Really, as Tim said, it's the software. That's what I think is really. I mean, obviously, the hardware is much more powerful than the original Switch in order to do the software that they want to. But I mean, the software was really the thing for me, and plus the bingo card game of what gimmick is this going to have?
100%. Yeah. And it wouldn't be Nintendo if they didn't do that.
And Alan, what about you? Like, what were you hoping for coming
And
into it?
I think I'm a lot with Mr. Dad on this. Like I'm so invested in my Switch that I just like an iPhone. Like I think that was perfectly as long as they improve things, battery life, display, usability, minor incremental updates. That was all I really needed. That it was gonna look better. I was torn if like I really wanted a bigger screen because again, like I mentioned earlier, I like the portability of the Switch. And I think the Switch OLED has a really nice display. Yeah, my eyes are getting worse. Maybe a little bit bigger display would be great. But I will tell you guys, going into the announcement, I was like, day one, no matter what, I'm picking this up. Like it's a no-brainer for me. I'm dying to upgrade my Switch, and I'm curious if you guys felt either, felt that or, it was more of a wait and see.
Mine was always going to be a wait and see again, just because of the way I game. I don't need to be the first person on the block.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. Dad, you have how many Switches in the house? So like,
I know. So I mean, I pulled the household when we knew it was, announcement was coming and stuff. My son definitely has to have one day one. I would
okay.
like to have one day one. I was asked by my sister-in-law if I could manage to snag an extra one.
You're the go-to guy in the family, like,
right?
hey.
Exactly. I'm the one who finds the things, right? So I did that with the PS5, right? That's how everybody in the family got PS5s. Because I was the one on Twitter right when Wario 64 said they're at Best Buy, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, it was my plan to definitely get one for my son for sure.
Okay.
And then if I could get one for myself, that'd be gravy. And like I said, family members who are looking for gifts and stuff with, graduation time, birthdays and stuff coming up. So,
Yeah.
So,
Well,
and
you both kind of mentioned the specs a little bit. Do you want to like pull those up and look at those a little, or?
yeah, sure, let's go for it. And like we were saying earlier, I'm not a specs guy. I'm a simpleton. So as long as I look at it and I'm like, oh, this is neat, and that it works. But a couple things I'll just call out that I liked about the specs. I do like, and these are not major advancements, but the 2 USB ports, that's great. Because I have had problems trying to play and charge my Switch with the USB port at the bottom. Like that's super annoying. The Steam Deck has it at the top. The screen size, hey, I think that's great. It looks great. Really no, I'm looking at my notes when it actually comes to the system. If there was anything that really jumped out at me, battery life scares me because that didn't sound so great.
That's a pretty wide range of how long the battery could last.
Yeah,
and
and
I think that's the original launch Switch kind of was in the same range at kind of 2 to 6 hour, right? And then the first revision had significant battery life improvements, and then of course the OLED model even. So I mean, I do feel that this is like you're going to be the early adopter on this one, so you're going to give up some
100%.
of those refinements in order to have the Switch day one. The screen being 1080p in the handheld screen, huge upgrade, right? I don't know if you've recently played your Switch undocked. Alan and I were talking about this, trying to do Fortnite on the Switch undocked. That
No,
is
it's not playable.
that is not a great experience in 2025, right?
I'll say it's not playable for a middle-aged man because
Yes.
my son could play that and he just holds it like arms stretched out like above him on the couch and he does fine. But I cannot. I
Yeah,
can't see
I'm
anything.
in the same boat, right?
Yeah.
So, I did think the surprising thing of, as far as specs though, is that a lot of comparisons between Nintendo and Apple. That Nintendo is the kind of Apple of the video game world.
Mhm.
Um, 32 gigabytes of internal storage on the original Switch was too few.
Yeah.
I am absolutely shocked that they went up to 256. I thought they were gonna kind of
64. Yeah. We
I
doubled
was
it.
I was thinking, well, that would not have surprised me. I was expecting 128, so I am completely shocked they went to 256. The only thing I can think of is that the cost of making the chips that small is like it costs more to make smaller chips, right? So I'm wondering if it's like an economy of scale thing. It didn't. It was. It would have added cost to go smaller, right? So
Mm. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh no, I think everything looked good. No, any surprises to you aside from the storage though? Like it just looks like a Switch 2, right?
I mean, this was based on the kind of leaks and rumors and stuff we had. We knew it was going to be, like I said, kind of incremental and not revolutionary.
Mhm.
This was more or less in lines what I expected technically, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well,
Yeah, I'm looking over here, the notes, speaker improvements, built-in microphone, um, yeah, better looking Joy-Cons. And the Joy-Cons do look much more comfortable, the larger size. But yeah,
I'm,
nothing
I'm
nothing crazy.
but
I'm
I
interested to see how the Joy Cons are, considering the Switch had such an issue with stick drift
Yeah,
on the Joy Cons, and they are not Hall effect,
I just saw that. Yeah.
right? But they said they've spent a lot of time improving this, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think outside of like the hardware stuff, which again, I'd look at this stuff and I'm it's not that I don't know what it means, but it's kind of irrelevant to me what all of this stuff is. But some of the newer bells and whistles are things that I'm a little bit more interested. And I think the first one that we can kind of talk about a little bit is the game chat and the camera. Because one of the things where I really felt, and I'm not alone in this obviously, but where Nintendo fell way behind with the Switch was how bad the like chatting experience was, because having come from an Xbox 360, which was my first non-Nintendo console, that was just a blast, like being online with people, chatting with people, and then like downgrading to a Switch to where, I mean, Alan, you and I never really play Switch together because we can't talk. So
Yeah,
it's kind
and
of annoying.
anyone that I know who does play multiplayer on the Switch, like even when my 12-year-old would do it, they call each other on like, Messenger Kids or something. There's I don't even know if the Switch has any kind of game chat or anything because I know the kids don't even try.
They had that app. Remember Reggie Fils-Aimé saying there's a pretty sweet solution. Had that
No.
app for your phone that you could do it. But if you're on the phone anyway, then you do
Yeah.
like my kids do. They call their cousins on their iPads and do
Yep.
FaceTime.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they do
Right.
in our house as well. So
So, I mean, and the kids are so conditioned to that, right? That like even if they are playing on the Xbox on both ends, they still just use FaceTime because that's what they're used to, right?
yeah.
So
So, and I'm gonna jump ahead of my notes, but since we're talking about the camera, we're talking about the kids. I did watch this with my son Ollie, and when they were showing all of this, I made notes of what he said because it was hilarious to me. But his remarks are, "This camera looks terrible." He's like, "I can't believe they showed it." He said, and basically just like, no one is going to use this, and he was concerned about the TTP, which is anytime you have a camera or anything. I don't know if you guys have watched Mythic Quest. It's a great show, but it is the time to till genitals appear at some point. So he said that that was going to happen immediately. But yeah, he was really called out about like how bad it looked. And again, I think you hit the nail on the head there, because they use FaceTime. They're on their iPads with relatively good cameras, FaceTiming each other, and it looks good. And he just said it was so laggy, and he's like, why are they showing this? This looks awful. And to an extent, I agreed. But my take on it was, I will never use this. You know, when I play my Switch, it's usually late at night. The kids are asleep. I have like that hour to myself where I sit on the couch or I just sit in bed and play it. I'm not looking, I love you guys, but I'm certainly not looking to chat with you and screen share or do anything at that point in the day. So, but it is blender proof. I'm glad you got that on there, and I'm really curious to see if I could make smoothies in the background while we're gaming on the couch.
Yeah, if I were to get a Switch eventually, the fact that you can chat is a plus for me. I would never in a billion years even connect a camera to this thing. But as far as just being able to talk to people while playing, that's a bigger deal.
Now, was that a tongue-in-cheek comment there? You wouldn't connect a camera to it? Because those are the flashbacks I got watching this, was the Xbox Connect. When they were punching the coin, I was like, oh, no, not this again, no.
I mean, my kind of thought on this, right, is this is a feature that's 20 years. I think their implementation for the game chat, the button, that's all great.
Yeah.
The camera is not good, right? I mean, remember the Xbox 360 had the game cam, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, right, you would hear about people getting banned all the time for X-rated videos, inappropriate content and that's what's going to happen. And I understand Nintendo has been the family video game company and they want to stay away from this, but this feature should have been in the Wii. And I think they did try in the Wii a little bit, because remember they had that Animal Crossing game, City Folk, and you could get it with a speaker, but it was like really terrible. That's my other concern here, is that it's using the microphone built into the Switch. So I don't know what the audio fidelity will be. I can imagine kids yelling from across the room at it, right? But like you said, I'm not gonna dial you guys up at 11 o'clock at night and let's game chat and play Mario Party, right?
No, we must. We have to test the blender. Like, I'm sure that's what YouTube is going to be. Just people recreating this scene.
Sure.
So what if a blender wants to chat? Like, does it just silence it completely?
Yeah, you have to silence the voice and just get those blender wavelengths through.
I did think the chat portion of it without the video.
Yeah. I'll give you the chat. But when they were showing that, what was going through my head was like, please let there be a way to turn this off, like that I can chat with people, but not take up, 30% of my screen with the chat windows. And I was like, please tell me I can turn this off. Because again, I'm playing handheld. And now if I'm playing handheld and you're reducing my screen to bring up all those windows, this is an awful experience. But they did say you can minimize those. You can close them out and you can still chat. So, hey, maybe it's something I'll use, but highly, highly unlikely that I would ever touch this. And I definitely no plans to get that camera, even though I was surprised that it was only $49.99. That seemed really, really inexpensive.
Probably a pretty low wall. I mean, what do you think? I mean, a 1080p webcam is, what? 75? I mean, a good one, $7,500. What are we thinking?
Maybe, yeah.
720p.
I was disappointed that I don't know, Tim, did you see the Piranha Plant camera? I think it was it Hori that was making it?
Hori.
Yeah, that looked amazing. It's basically the camera's in the Piranha Plant's mouth, but that was like a 480p camera. I think that was even worse, but missed opportunity to nail that Nintendo.
So what about the other big gimmick, I think, that kind of came out of it?
What was that? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. See, I already put it out of my mind.
Yeah. And they really, And they did all of like the showcases. They just had the one in New York where people came out and actually got to play hands-on. I put in for the raffle to get a ticket for that. I was not selected. Otherwise, I'm sure I'd have a lot more to say. But they showed a lot of people playing games like Metroid using these mouse controls. This is the Nintendo moment on the bingo card, right? Where like, hey, let's do something so Nintendo. And for me, this is up there with a game chat. Again, I'm sitting in bed or I'm sitting on the couch playing. Like, how am I supposed to even try and use this? Like, put them on my legs to move it. This was I'm happy to try it. Like, but this was not something that was like appealing to me in the least. How about you, Mr. Dad?
I think it was a solution in search of a problem, right? It's something that can be done. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not gonna sit playing my Switch on the TV with. No, if I'm gonna use a game with a mouse stuff, I'm gonna go use it. Right? Maybe there's some select use cases that this really makes sense. It's nice, right? But
It doesn't hurt anything that it's there.
Anything, but I don't really feel this is a game.
Yeah. What I don't want to see is, remember on the DS when they released Phantom Hourglass, Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass, they made you play with the stylus. Like, don't make me play games like this. Cool that it's supported in something like Metroid, but I want to play with regular controllers.
Yeah, see, I that's kind of where I disagree with you. I think this could be detrimental. I think this is extraordinarily stupid.
Ooh.
I would never use it in a billion years. Because again, I don't sit at a table to play Nintendo. You know, I don't sit with like a tray in front of me to play Nintendo. I would never use this in a million years. And if they start forcing some games to use it, like, that's just a game I would never play. Like, I legitimately think it is dumb and it's a detriment to the system.
How do you really feel though? Like,
I think it's stupid.
But
why do they like? That's what computer games are for. If you want to play with a mouse, play on a computer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was their kind of, right? They kind of had two applications, right? First person shooter with the Metroid, and then like, what was it? Civilization. It was the other one.
I didn't see that. No.
Or maybe Age of Empires. I don't remember. It was one of the strategy games, which if you're a computer real-time strategy person, you're playing that keyboard and a mouse and a big screen and a whole bunch of hotkeys and really nerding out about it, right? I don't think it's the casuals. So it's like I said, it doesn't hurt anything, but like Tim said, if you're forcing you to use it as a Nintendo gimmick, right?
Yeah, and you brought up a good point too, that I was thinking sitting on the couch, like playing handheld, but what if I'm playing docked? Like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm not sitting at a table, I'm sitting at the couch. And, you know, we have a coffee table, but I can't see myself, like, it's a weird thing, but hey, I don't know. Not something that I would use. Absurd. Okay. Yes. If I had to like pick a direction on this, I would lean more towards this is Waggle 2.0. This is absurd. I do not want this. I don't know. Any other hardware stuff before we start talking about games?
I'm glad it's backwards compatible. Like,
again, that's a big one.
If I do eventually get one, which will be years down the line, it's nice to know that I'll still be able to play my Switch games.
Yeah, with like an asterisk though there. Sorry to cut you off, Mr. Dad. Or cut
Yeah, I think the only other hardware thing is really the dock, right? I never had the problem of my Switch overheating in the dock. Evidently, it was an issue for some people. Obviously, a more powerful machine now is going to have higher thermal footprint. They need active cooling. I like that, seeing that there's an actual fan in there now, right? So,
yeah, it's funny. Like when I first got my Switch and I docked it and I expected to see like, I don't know what I was expecting to see like HD gaming on the TV. And I was like, wait, is something wrong? Like, why does this look so bad? It did not look good on the, a high resolution display when docked, but so I never had overheating issues because I rarely played dock. It was only when we did like family Mario Kart, we'd probably play on the TV. But yeah, the dock sure looks good. Hopefully it keeps it from overheating with 4K. But I want to jump back to the backwards compatibility, because that's one thing I was waiting for them to talk more about during the presentation. And we'll talk about the games and the updates that they have available. But I wanted to hear, like, one of the things for me was, yes, this is going to make your Switch One games look great, on a vibrant, larger display or something. And they never really said that. They kind of, I think it was a post presentation interview. They said, yeah, maybe there'll be some benefits like faster load times and things like that. And I'm like, you're not selling me on buying this console.
Maybe.
Yeah,
they don't know. They haven't checked.
Well, I don't. There didn't seem really reassuring that playing a Switch One game on a Switch 2 was going to be any kind of a difference.
Yeah. So there was a story afterwards. They were like they were talking about those developer blog type things.
Yeah,
there was a story. So basically, the way Nintendo has always done backwards compatibility is through improvements over the life of the cycle of the machine, like the GameCube to the Wii, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Wii to the Wii U. They were able to miniaturize and compartmentalize all the parts. So basically, the successor machine had the hardware of the previous machine. So it was just there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how they achieved backwards compatibility, right? In this case, from Switch to Switch 2, it's a much different architecture. And they would not then have the ability to have the hardware physically, thermals, battery, a whole bunch of stuff.
Right.
So
is this going where I think this is going then?
Almost.
Okay.
So it's not emulation.
Okay.
They developed a software virtualization / translation layer, which
that
basically
sounds like
translates
a lot like emulation to me.
Right.
Yeah.
It basically translates Switch 1 instructions into something the Switch 2 hardware will understand.
Okay.
So you probably, unless there's specific code changes to the game, like we have like with some of these upgrade packs, outside of load times, because the hardware is just physically faster, right? The storage is physically faster. You're probably not going to realize much because there is that translation layer, right? So
got it. Well, I'll still be curious to see how they at least look on the screen. Are they going to look sharper? Are they going to look a little muddier because they're just stretching the whatever was it 720p was the old screen? I don't remember.
So yeah, I mean 720p undocked and then 1080p docked, right?
Okay.
That was, I mean, then that's optimal, right?
Yeah.
So,
but that's what I'm real curious, because I still have a life's worth of backlog games on my Switch that I want to play. And if I'm getting a new console, I still want to be able to play them. And I would like them, disappointing that there's not going to be any immediate benefits, but I guess we'll have to see how things go there. But I think that's a good time. If you guys are cool, should we talk about the games?
I think we should.
All right. Wow. So I got to look at this
slides worth. This first slide is just all of the day one launch titles, and then the next slide is the rest of the stuff coming out in 2025. It's not everything, but it's most of the big ticket things, I believe.
Yeah, because they said there was 24 launch games, right? So I mean, I guess ask you guys, like, what's that?
I suppose.
Yeah.
Is Legend of Zelda really a launch game? It seems like
I guess it's a Switch 2 game you could play. Yeah. I don't know. Like, what are you guys? Are you guys excited about any of these?
Launch game.
Yeah, Fortnite. Yeah, that was funny, but it did look good. At least it looked like what I'm used to when I play Fortnite on the Xbox.
So I mean, this list. I mean, there is obviously a good number of ports here, right? For launch titles. I mean, there's some good stuff here. I mean, the Bravely Default, HD remaster. I mean, there's stuff here that I think if you did not already have a Switch, you would be like, oh, that's great, right? So, I mean, but as far as actual new stuff, the real star here is going to be Mario Kart World.
Yeah. If we took Mario Kart World out of the equation, Is there like a killer app or a system seller?
Hilarious.
I'm gonna
Take
Yeah,
Mario
I'm
Kart
with
out.
Tim. There's not, right? So
Yeah. Hey, I mean,
Um,
Cyberpunk, like playing that on a handheld, that's appealing to me. I mean, I know you can do it on Steam Deck. I don't own it on Steam Deck, but that would be something I would want to play. What else? Fortnite, I would probably try. But yeah, again, it's not a system seller to your point.
Yeah.
Mario Kart looked great, but I don't need that on day one. I'm good on that one.
Yeah, I look at the day one list, and the only games that I have even passing interest in are Mario Kart and I guess Street Fighter, but I don't even really need a new Street Fighter. I'd be perfectly fine playing Street Fighter for Super Nintendo. That does what I need it to do as far as Street Fighter games go. And again, those Zelda games, like I don't even have those for the Switch One because those are the sort of games that are just a little too much for me these days.
I feel like this is very Nintendo to do though. Like here's Mario Kart. I think like even on the DS, I remember buying it and have no games, having nothing to play on it and just waiting. So
and
this will
Mario 64 3D. That was it.
Yeah. But I think they're like, well, people are going to buy this no matter what. So we don't need to go out of our way. You know, people will take whatever they can get. And there is the Switch 2 welcome tour. Should we talk about that one?
So that is the quintessential Nintendo being Nintendo. This should absolutely be a free pack-in.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's $6 or $10, whatever the
10.
price is, but it should absolutely be a pack-in for folks like my mom, right? So here's how the Switch works, right? Sony had, what was it, Astro's Playroom or whatever, Playroom. My son played that. I mean, I know it was sort of an adventure, but I mean, this is a similar type thing, right? This should be free with the system, right? I mean, you're charging for a tutorial.
I feel like this is going to be their ambassador program goodwill measure. They're going to say like, hey, if you buy a Switch and within the first 30 days, you can download this game for free. Like I have a feeling they'll kick that in, but or not, or they'll just Nintendo. They're like, if you're buying a Switch now, then we don't need to give you anything. Yeah, and I'm still looking at the other games. Borderlands 4, not a launch title. Star Wars Outlaws stuck out to me, but that's also not a launch title.
So we'll pull up the future titles then, because there are some, at least to me, there's a few more interesting ones in here.
Yeah, like Borderlands 4, like I will gladly play. Hyrule Warriors, I will gladly buy and never play because that's what I do with Warriors.
Well, I mean, there's definitely some titles here, right? So Borderlands 4, I mean, if you do not have PC or Xbox or PS5, I'm sure it'll be, I mean, it looked nice in the sizzle reel we saw, right? If you're a Borderlands fan, I'm sure you'll be perfectly happy with this. The Daemon Ex Machina, that's a sequel to a different Switch title. I know not in your guys' wheelhouse. I didn't play the original, but I know the original was well received.
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring. I am curious to see how it's going to perform.
Yeah.
I played that on the Xbox Series X. Gorgeous game, right? Super hard, right? There is artwork commemorating my futility. Daughter. It's super hard, but it's super fantastic, right?
Yep.
Now, this is a system seller for my daughters, Hades 2. We played a lot of the original Hades. I mean, roguelike. And it is launching on consoles on Switch 2 first. So that'll be a day one purchase. Yep. So
you said something super interesting though. You talked about performance, and I want to throw this out there. So when I again, I own a Switch and I own a Steam Deck. A lot of times I like playing on the Switch, and I mentioned this because I just pick it up and play. I don't have to fiddle with settings. I don't have to try to like, oh, I want to go in quality mode or performance mode and turn down the frame rate. And it works. Like it doesn't have to be connected to the internet for me to sign on to games. Like it's perfect. Did you see when they showed Metroid Prime 4? And then they showed that you could play in quality mode or performance. I'm like, guys, you're killing me. Like, I just want a simple pick up and play system. I don't want to have to go down that route of like, hey, what's the best profile to play this game? You know, can someone send me their settings? So that was, while I appreciate it, it was kind of like a bit of a aw shucks in my mind, because I love the simplicity of just picking up the Switch and playing and not have to configure or tweak any settings. And I wonder if that's going to be the norm now for games like Elden Ring, right? That are super demanding.
I think 99 times out of 100, you're going to pick up the Switch 2 and do nothing.
Okay.
And play game, right? These, I think, are going to be options for enthusiasts who just do not have another option, right? I want to play Elden Ring. This is the only console I have. I've been waiting 2 years. I'm going to run it in performance mode, right? So just because I want the best visual experience I can get, right? I think it's a very niche thing, and it's just something the other consoles have done. So that's what they're just kind of following. I don't think it's going to be like when you put a cartridge in, it's going to ask you. You're going to have to go
Please
dig
configure, yeah.
Yeah.
As long as I don't have like individual game launchers like the Steam Deck, you know, for some of these games. But again, Star Wars Outlaws, that does not run on Steam Deck, at least as far as I recall. And that's one that I'm super, super interested in.
Is that the EA one or the Ubisoft one?
Unknown. I'm not sure. It's the most recent one. It's not the Jedi Survivor game. So
yeah, I mean, and that is, like you said, launchers, because some of the EA and Ubisoft both have a very spotty history with launchers on Steam Deck, right?
Yeah, and Tim, so real fast, I'll tell you what a launcher is, Tim. So again, the Steam Deck is a portable computer. So these companies like Ubisoft and the EA, they make their own like
Store.
yeah, they have their own stores, and then when you start a game, it starts like their kind of what's called a launcher to kick things off. And that doesn't always play nice on the Steam Deck. It'll work on a desktop PC, but the Steam Deck kind of like freaks out when you try to do it, and you're like, it makes starting these games more difficult, which is why I like on the Switch, you just put in a game, turn it on, and it plays.
Right.
But we're getting into the weeds on the games here.
Yeah, a little bit. But
Yeah.
but I'm looking at this now. There's more stuff on here that interests me. The Donkey Kong game looks fun. You know, it looked kind of like Donkey Kong Country. I enjoyed that back when that came out. I thought it was kind of interesting that one of the next big games that they spent a lot of time on that video talking about was Kirby Air Raiders, which is like another Mario Kart. Do we need another Mario Kart type game within the first couple months of the first Mario Kart coming out? That was an interesting choice, I thought.
Yeah. I've never even played Kirby Air Raiders. I know my son played Kirby in the Forgotten Land like how many years ago? So he loved that one, but he's already played it, and he has no interest to go back and play that one again. So
yeah. So again, just even for the whole rest of the year, the only games that really would be of interest to me would be Mario Kart and Donkey Kong. And if I wait a couple years, I'm sure they'll still be there.
yeah, definitely. And I'm sure they'll still be at full price though.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys, was there games you were hoping to see that they didn't announce?
I don't know that like hoping or thought there was even a shred of a chance would actually happen.
Yeah, like either way.
If they had put out an Advance Wars or a Portal type game, I would have been very excited for both of those, but I never thought that's something that would happen.
All right. Mr. Dad, what you got? What was in your wish list?
So just real quick with the upcoming titles, Pokemon coming in the fall, that is a system seller, right? So, I mean,
That one's
my fifth grader asks me at least once a week, when's the new Pokemon coming?
awesome.
Going on for a year already, right? So those are day one for us. I mean, it's a little early yet, but next Zelda game, right? I think, and I don't think it's ever going to happen. Are we ever going to get another Kid Icarus game? Right? I know we got that one on the 3DS or whatever, which was pretty meh. I'm hoping we're going to get another Kid Icarus game someday.
And that's not so crazy. That's something I see they could have thrown out with the launch titles, because it would have been like a niche game that people would have gotten excited about. Like, oh my gosh, look at this. That's crazy. And they wouldn't have to use any of their Marios or Zelda cards at that time. So maybe.
I guess that's the other thing is, right? No new mainline Mario, right? I guess that'll be year 2 system seller, right?
Again, like we said earlier, they know people are going to buy this. They don't need to throw a game. And then maybe if they start to see the dip, then they're like, throw a new Mario game out, and they'll get everybody who's sitting on the fence. But there was a couple things I wanted to see. And I think number one, which I was really surprised, and I think this can segue into the next part, is there was no Wind Waker HD. Like, that was top of my list. That would have been, that probably, despite the fact that I played that game, or, and I've beaten it multiple times, that would have been a system seller for me to have it on that beautiful screen, 1080p, portable version of Wind Waker HD that works flawlessly. Because I do have some possibly illicit versions of it that work well, but just to have the actual Nintendo version would be great. That was tops on my list. And the second one, which is ridiculous, but I heard the rumors, was the Master Chief, the Halo Master Chief collection coming to Switch 2. I would have bought that day one. Again, a game that I've beaten all of those games. I played through the Master Chief collection multiple times, but that, to me, that's like comfort gaming. I would have picked that up in a second just to take it with me. Again, I have both of those games on another system that is portable, but it would have been nice to see that. And something new, like something uniquely Nintendo, like a weird kind of Pikmin new game or something like that would have been cool. But I want to segue this, if you guys don't mind, talking about Wind Waker HD, how Nintendo fully let the wind out of my sails and showed off the GameCube games coming to their virtual console or whatever it is. And they spent so much time on the GameCube version of Wind Waker that made me realize that HD version is not happening.
I was more excited by the GameCube stuff than anything that they talked about for the Switch. But again, it doesn't matter. It's not a system seller for me or anything like that. But hey, Soul Calibur 2's on there. I'm all about that.
That was a random one, right? Like, I was definitely not on my bingo card. I had GameCube games coming, but Soul Calibur was a funny pick. So, Mr. Dad, what are you thinking?
I mean, I think it's about time that they put GameCube on the virtual console. I'm still not a fan of their expansion pass strategy. I like the Wii virtual console. That was their best implementation, right?
Yep.
I
That's
know
where you purchased the games, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Even though it was individually more expensive, but then you had had the list of things that you wanted, right? Mm-hmm. And the things that I bought are stuck on my Wii forever.
Right? I bought the Metroid Prime trilogy that has locked to that console. I think Metroid Fusion was on that. I bought a bunch of games, and yes.
Right. And I mean, I am sure there are ways to get your content off if you are scour the appropriate corners of the internet now. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think that's the model everybody really wants. They want that, kind of like browse the entire back catalog and buy what you can.
I'm gonna disagree. That's not what I want. I don't want to be nickel and dimed for every single old game that I could download illegally for free if I wanted to. The subscription service that has a decent amount of them, I think that's a better way to go, because I'm not going to pay $10 for Super Mario Brothers, but I'll play it if it's there. Just like I've been playing the game I've been playing on my Switch the most lately has been RC Pro-Am. But if they put that up there for $15, they would have never seen $15 out of me.
No, I mean, I understand the subscription model, right? And I think that was a knock against the original virtual console. It was like the N64 games are like $15. That was too much, right? Yeah. I mean, we need to have like a couple of dollars, right? Now, GameCube games, if you physically went and bought GameCube games now, forget it, right? Most of them, anything you want to play is 100 plus, right? So, I mean, this is a better alternative if it's Nintendo's curated list. Unfortunately, you're not going to probably get everything. You're right; they seem to be rolling these out pretty slow. So, but I was happy to see that they have made the jump.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah.
And it's GameCube is not going to be Switch 1. This is only Switch 2, right?
Right.
All right.
That's my understanding.
Yeah. Hey,
What did you think about the GameCube controller that they made?
that was great. Relived like one of the most uncomfortable controllers of all time. No, I'm kidding. That was I think those are always neat, but they're no sale for me. Especially I don't have the expansion pack plus. Like again, Tim, you talked about being nickeled and dimed. I still would much rather buy the games I want than subscribe to them. Especially again, when the virtual console does like an internet check. So if you're traveling, you're away from the internet, you're not playing these games, which that bugs the heck out of me. But I thought the GameCube, that was really nostalgic to see that. I'm surprised they didn't do the I guess it is kind of the Wavebird because it is wireless, right? But what did you think of that?
I mean, I thought it looked great. I know there's some, internet Spider-Man's eyes blink, how could they do that? Right? Nonsense going on because evidently they changed the size of one of the buttons.
Oh no.
I always liked the GameCube controller. I hated the N64 controller. And to me, it looked nice. I will pick one up if I get the opportunity.
Well, you have to, what is it? You have to own a Switch 2. You have to be a subscriber to Nintendo Online in order to purchase it, right?
To have the privilege of
To have the privilege,
an old, more uncomfortable game controller.
I don't think you have to own a Switch 2. I think you just have to be a
subscriber
and then have had a Switch. Maybe it was to have had a Switch 1.
All right. I do like what Nintendo was doing to combat scalpers on their site, right? You had to have like so much game time in order to register to purchase a Switch. But we'll come back to the pre-orders in a little bit.
We're actually coming up on an hour, so I don't know what other areas you want to hit.
I could, buzz through this. The thing I was most excited about the whole thing were the new Zelda amiibos from Tears of the Kingdom. I didn't, not on my bingo card, but I'll happily grab those. We didn't even talk about the Zelda GPS, which was just absurd. Like, oh, Hyrule Castle, make a left. Your destination is ahead. That was
weird. A separate phone app that shows you how to get places in The Legend of Zelda is kind of silly.
Anything that takes you away from playing the game, I feel is miss, right? So
that was definitely weird. There were two things on my list too that I want to talk about real fast. One is the game cases. Did you guys see the game cases for the Switch 2 games?
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, they looked hideous. Like the way there's, almost a quarter of the box is just that red top and the logo. And I get what they're doing because people are going to be confused at retail, over the holidays. But man, I hope they improve those over time. And then there's also the game key cards that they're going to be selling, which is, I don't know. That just seems awful to me.
I'm waiting to hear a little bit more about what that actually means. Are those another option in addition to buying a physical game? Are they going to replace physical games? Are there going to be physical games, period? Like everything that I was looking up today to try to figure out what was going on with those, no one seems to really know what their plan is with those just yet.
Well, with the game key cards, that is your key to playing the game is on the card, and that is it. So you put that in, you could download the game to your system and play it. And the thing I like about it is you can then put it in another system. Like it doesn't, from what I read, Mr. Dad, and maybe I was wrong, but it doesn't lock that game to your system as if you bought it digitally.
Yeah,
but,
I read that as well. But what I can't figure out is if that's the only physical version of a game that will be available.
Oh, that I don't know. Like something like Metroid Prime 4, like the Switch 2 version, right?
So, I mean, there was it Spawn Wave or somebody, I think it was Spawn Wave. They got a little clarity. There will be regular games on the the game is actually on the card games like we have
Huzzah.
today.
Yeah.
There will be the game key things, which are similar to like, I don't play Call of Duty anymore, but like if you buy Call of Duty for the Xbox or the PlayStation, there's like nothing on that disc, right? It's like put it in and the launcher is on there to go download the 87 gig game, right?
Mhm.
So I mean that's what the game key is going to be more like, where it's, remember during the Switch we had the empty boxes that would just have the code in them that you
Yep.
would type in the code and get. They got rid of that basically, and they produced a cartridge that basically just has the key on it, so you don't have to do the type in. So they're
And you can sell it too, right?
right,
Like you
yeah,
can transfer it. Like it's
transferable, right?
okay.
Yes.
As long as you could do something like that, I think it's
Yeah.
a win.
So there was some clarification on that. So,
But when that store goes offline, you've got nothing, basically. Yeah. You guys have any other things that I missed that were kind of beyond the games, beyond the system? I think that was my full list right there.
Yeah, I mean, just that, you earlier today, Alan, you and I talked a little bit about the price, which again, I don't know if that's something we need to beat up. I personally don't think that the system itself is priced that bad. It's fine. Seems to me what a video game system should cost. Some of the game prices I've seen have been a little silly. $80 for Mario Kart, $10 for the tour of your system. Some of that stuff seems a little wacky, but that's the only other thing that Alan, that you and I were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I and Mr. Dad, I think you were too. Like this, the price was kind of where we thought it would be, right?
I thought they might come in at 400.
Mhm.
450 doesn't. I think it's an absolute no-brainer if you're considering this system to just go to the 500 and get the Mario or
Yeah.
a Mario Kart game, right? So,
Mhm.
if you have any interest in that game, it'd be silly not to buy the bundle.
Which is probably why they priced it at $80
Exactly.
too, right? Like, hey, you're gonna buy this. I have seen ever since that presentation, though, I've seen tons of negativity. Most of this coverage I've seen has been pretty negative regarding the price and regarding the games. But yeah, I hoped for 400, 450 seems like on par for what you're hopefully getting, and then with the pack-in game, 500. Had I not bought a dragon, I would have been there. So.
I mean, I don't think if they had launched at 400, it would be nice.
Yeah.
I don't think 450, considering launch price on the original was 300, right? But that's already 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Everything costs more, right? I mean, if this is a significantly more powerful system, right? I do think that we will get a revision in a year or two with an OLED screen, right?
Yep.
Um,
They'll drop this price down $50. OLED will come in at 450.
right.
Yeah. So following that chain of thought, then, so we talked about how excited, or talked about our feelings going into this, right? You said you've got a house full of Switches. You're on the hook for one, possibly two. Did the pricing change your pre-order plans at all?
Assuming nothing changes the price, we'll go with that verbiage. Yes, definitely in for the $500 with the Mario Kart. We're gonna get one of those. Getting a second one, jury is out.
Okay.
I was signed up for 2. Going in, coming out, I think we're signed up for just 1.
Yeah. Tim, I think you were signed up for none going in.
I was signed up for none, but I was curious going into this. I wanted to learn a little bit more about it and see what am I going to be looking at in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And nothing about what they showed this week really excited me. The price again is sort of irrelevant. The price is what it is. I don't think that would have made or braked me. I don't know what the proper tense of that is.
Sure.
But I don't think that really matters so much to me as far as when I would buy the system. But everything I've seen, including the stuff that's coming up for the rest of the year, there's no reason for me to be picking up this system anytime soon.
Yep. And I think I'm with you. I went into this super, super excited, but ultimately after the end of it, it wasn't the price undoing it for me. It was just that, hey, there's really no reason for me to get this unless I just want the bigger screen now, but I think I'm going to be okay. I think I'll again, there's a lot of games still on my current Switch. There's still more games coming out on the Switch that I want to play, like the Patapon collection. I'm super psyched about that. The Hot Shots golf game. Like I'm all in for that. So I think I'll be good. And I'll keep an eye on this. Maybe I will ride it out until that revision comes out with the OLED, better battery, and whatever other improvements they make. Unfortunately, even if I wanted to get one, everyone in North America, we're kind of stymied at the moment. And I'm curious to see, because today was the pre-order day for the Switch, and our friends across the world were happily pre-ordering those. But in the US and Canada, we're just kind of on the fence waiting to see how Nintendo's going to respond to the tariffs, if they're going to raise the price. I'm sure they're crunching all those numbers, trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll just say, hey, we raised it, but we're going to throw in the Switch Tour or something.
And you got to figure they're gonna make that decision pretty soon, because they said they're not changing the release date, which is in June. That's real soon. So I don't think we're gonna have to wait too long for that.
No, yeah, I'm curious to see what they do. Again, like I said, unfortunately, a lot of the coverage was really harping on the price, and I don't think it was the price of the systems that set it off. I think the price of the games, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. So if they come back and say like, oh yeah, now it's a $600 system instead of $500, I think all the goodwill that Nintendo has fostered will erode immediately. But we'll see. So hopefully they don't do anything.
Alan, did you finish Tears of the Kingdom?
I did. Yes.
So that was their first $70 game, right? Okay. Did you feel you got $70 worth out of that game?
I bought the collector's edition. So I paid more than $70. And not only did I buy the collector's edition, I bought a second copy of the game. Actually, I might have bought 3 copies of the game now that I think about it. So I don't know if I'm the right person to ask this, but I know I bought 2 copies because my son was interested in it and I did not want to share. So, and I also did not want to risk him messing up my game at all. So he had his own. I bought the collector's edition, and I'm pretty sure I have it digitally as well. Did I get my money's worth out of that game? Going back to your question, I will have to look at my playtime for that game, but it's got to be in the hundreds of hours.
So, I mean, from that perspective, right? Like in the old days, Super Nintendo cartridges were not unheard of for them to be $90, $100, right? But if you were playing Final Fantasy 3 for 400 hours, you break it right. I mean, it was a bargain, right? It was like quarter an hour. If you got hundreds of hours by paying $10 more for a game that you love, was it worth it? That's, I think, where Nintendo is going. The Nintendo experience is going to cost more this generation, but we're going to deliver a product that you are going to love. Is that worth $10 more? Right.
And I can get behind that. Yeah.
Right. If they deliver, if you charge me $80 and it does not deliver, that's a concern. I'm having a hard time seeing how Mario Kart is an $80 game. They're fun.
Yeah.
But
especially
that's the one I'm going to hang my hat on as being my first $80.
But especially if they charge you $80 for it now, and then in 6 months charge you another $20 for additional tracks. But we'll see.
We'll see.
That's why you should buy the bundle, save $30 towards those tracks.
These are good smarts here. What's up, Tim? What were you to say?
No, I was just kind of agreeing with that. And I don't know. Does anyone have any other like final points to make before we start wrapping up?
No, again, I'm curious to see how this plays out. Like the negativity, people seem to really like the system from what I saw. It's just the price was kind of like a sticking point for a lot of people. Some people were saying it's way too expensive. I mean, if you watch the 2 days of Nintendo live streams, it was just constant trolling in the comments. Drop the price, drop the price, drop the price.
I think Nintendo did themselves a disservice by not being clear about pricing up front. That different games would have different prices, and at least in the US, there is no price difference between physical and digital outside of Means in other regions, physical games are going to cost more than digital games. That's not the case in North America. The not being upfront and controlling the narrative, and no good on Nintendo.
I know I'll be jealous of everyone that's there on day one. I mean, that FOMO, I suffer from FOMO. I suffer from gadget envy, and I will be really curious. But again, I'm curious to hear, everyone's experience. I'll be curious what people say about the old games. But I think I'm good to sit on this and wait for a bit. So
Year 2 is where consoles usually get their stride. Usually the launch titles, there's 1 or 2 gems, but the systems don't really start hitting their stride until the second.
yeah. But hey, I think it looks great, and I know it will be in my future at some point. It's just when that is TBD. Start making some new bumpers, Tim. We need that new Switch bumper.
The Switch decision is coming soon.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's coming soon for me. I even if I could pre-order today, it just doesn't make sense to me. So
cool. Well, I think this was a good time, Mr. Dad. Thank you so much for popping in. And
sorry,
good insight, Alan.
I couldn't hold it in any longer. I've been holding it in for an hour, and now it finally got me.
Very good. But thanks to everybody for watching, and we'll see everybody soon.
All right, thanks, guys. See you.
Perfectly excellent.